Hello, everybody. My name is Ken Clark. I'm the editor of Hardware and Building Supply Dealer, and this is our one-on-one video series. And with us is Kendall Hoyd. He's the CEO and co-founder of FariBuild AI. Welcome to the program, Kendall.
Well, good morning, Ken. Super excited to be here and get a chance to talk to you about our new software product.
Interesting way to maybe introduce this conversation would be to say there's a perception that a lot of independent dealers out there have an Uncle Charlie who's a lawyer who can come in and help out their business by signing on the lines that's dotted and helping with legal advice. But what if you don't have an Uncle Charlie? And in this complicated world of contracts that are getting more complicated, you may need some help. And I believe that that's where Kendall's product fits. Is that accurate, Kendall?
That hits the nail on the head, Ken. We are here to help the people who don't have an Uncle Charlie on call.
And take us behind the creation of the product and the idea behind it.
Okay, well, it all started, about 30 years ago. I was running a truss plant in southwestern Idaho and trying to reorient it towards, more bigger projects, bigger builders. Realized that I was starting to get some pretty voluminous documents across my desk to sign before these things happened. At the outset, I reviewed them. I knew it was important, but I didn't do them probably in as much detail as I did. And through the course of the first couple of years, I learned some hard lessons about which things to pay attention to in that process. Was taken to the woodshed a couple times by some guys who were more prepared than I was. And so from there, so I got way more attentive to that. But unfortunately, over time, it started taking significant amount of my time, which I would have rather been using running the company. So the origin of this actual product came when a few years ago, when the language models started to make their appearance on the scene, I started to brainstorm with some AI technical colleagues of mine about could we create a product that would bring the expertise of me and my founders to this review process and share it with everybody at a low cost.
Mm-hmm. And is it accurate to say the contracts are getting more complicated these days? I think this industry, I talk to a lot of people who say, I remember when it was just a handshake and that's all we needed. I think those days might be over. Maybe in some places they're not. But could you talk about kind of the specific dangers and the complicated business that we're in?
Yeah, it's very accurate to say that, and I think there's it's not a, everyone's aware, I'm sure, of the consolidation that's gone on in every aspect of the construction environment. GCs are bigger, the suppliers and the projects are bigger, and along with bigger entities and bigger projects come bigger agreements, and bigger agreements mean more lawyers and more complexity and more places to get caught out.
Can you point to a specific area where there's danger lurking and how your product helps?
Well, I'll tell you that there's our product. We've identified 50 areas where you can take on more risk than you should be. But the key ones that there's some really egregious ones that you really have to watch out for. The first thing I check is schedule control, and if the agreement, almost exclusively these things preserve schedule control as the sole right of the general contractor. And if you are a supplier, that's that could be a problem. You might be able to just manage that through inventory, but if you're a manufacturer or an installer, that is a big problem because you may not be able to mobilize resources on the according to the changes they make according to their needs. And so the first thing I do is make sure that that's a mutually decided change. Another really big one is, and this affects everybody, is it says pay if paid. Almost all of these things say, if the owner pays me, that triggers my obligation to pay you. And that is generally unacceptable language. If you are taking some credit risk of the owner when you sign up for one of these, the way that we counter that is we always say, our model is trained to say, if you in a pay, your adjustment to a pay if paid is to convert it to a pay when paid, which means you have 45 days from my bill to pay me. if you don't pay me within those 45 days, I can suspend work or deliveries on this agreement without any adverse consequences until I'm paid.
You mentioned the model, Kendall. What differentiates your model from ChatGPT or whatever else is out there in the legal community providing info along these lines?
It's a great question. And there's really two aspects to it. One critical aspect is our model has over 100 years of industry practitioners' expertise and experience built into the way it processes these agreements. And the other is our the workflow. So that is built into FariBuild, significantly more efficient for a user than trying to get ChatGPT to generate a red line.
Mhm.
So to be honest, it is possible to get ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude to render a decent analysis of an agreement. It will probably lack some specifics that we cover, and notably, there are some things that are omitted from contracts that are quite often it's unacceptable they're omitted. We find that the language models, out of the box, don't notice that every time. And secondly, in order to get that analysis from that product, you're going to spend a fair amount of time doing what's called prompt engineering, meaning there's a lot of trial and error involved in getting it to give you the level and type of analysis that you want. What we have observed is that you can spend a lot of time doing that and still not quite get to where FariBuild is in terms of its direct application to your business problems.
We've had other guests on this program talking about AI in general, and we appreciate you coming and bringing this very specific example of how AI can help a business. But can you talk generally, Kendall, about how AI is going to affect operations at lumber yards in the coming years?
Well, I think that the overarching theme is I think that the agentic nature of some of the tools that are available now will allow businesses to create integration and automation between systems and processes that would have been cost prohibitive in the past. And so that's a major change that's coming forward. A lot of the businesses in our industry, subcontractors, suppliers, manufacturers alike, still operate off of spreadsheets. They operate with specialized systems that are data silos. They're not connected to each other in the workflow. And with the tools that are available now, that the automation and integration of those workflows is going to become inexpensive, and it's going to become table stakes to being competitive.
Well, Kendall Hoyt from FariBuild AI, thanks so much for joining us on our program.
Thanks so much for having me. Enjoyed the conversation.
And if people want to reach out to you, how can they do so?
Yeah, I can be reached at Kendall@FariBuild.ai, and we'd love to have that conversation with anybody who's got an interest.
All right. Well, thanks again, Kendall, for joining us today.
All right, Ken, thank you.